They've long since cemented themselves as beloved pop culture icons, but what do we really know about Jay and his longtime companion Silent Bob? We've compiled an exhaustive timeline of the lives, loves, trials, and good fortunes of this foul-mouthed dynamic duo. If you're wondering where the story of Jay and Silent Bob begins, it might be best to start with Genesis, the book of the Bible, not the band. Yes, the biblical story of creation is canon within Kevin Smith's universe, and it's more relevant than you might think. As outlined in Dogma, the stories of the Bible hold literal sway in the View Askewniverse, with biblical figures, including God herself, showing up to influence the events of the world, and also to kill people. In the beginning, God created all that is, developed an unknowable plan for existence, and looks suspiciously like Alanis Morissette. While a lot of the events depicted in the holy text are presented as subjective and even misleading, turns out the story was, in broad strokes, pretty accurate.
Is that a Bible? Hey, the holy Bible, son!
Why is this important? Well, aside from answering man's most fundamental questions about nature, being, and the nature of existence, it sets the stage nicely for two stoners to meet at a convenience store in New Jersey in the 1970s. The place? The unincorporated community of Leonardo, New Jersey, just outside the Quick Stop. The time? The 1970s. What is about to occur is nothing short of destiny.
What the hell? Excuse me, who's watching these babies?
The fat one's watching the little one?
Just like that, Jay and Silent Bob were united. Hetero life mates from the cradle to the grave. Also, did you know Kevin Smith's daughter is playing baby Silent Bob? It's her screen debut. It's adorable. That's right, savages. The second movie in the Askewniverse takes place before the first. Here's how you can tell. Most of Mallrats revolves around a dating game show, run by Michael Rooker's character Machiavellian Jared Svenning. After tragedy strikes the original contestant, Svenning's daughter Brandy is forced to replace her on the game show at the last minute.
My dad's asked me to help him with his new show.
What, like his assistant or?
As a contestant.
You mean that dating game ripoff thing? That is what you're talking about here, right?
The original contestant is named Julie Dwyer. Wanting to look skinny for the cameras, she goes on an ill-advised exercise binge at the YMCA pool, unexpectedly dying of a brain embolism in the process. This disaster triggers the plot of Mallrats, with the boyfriend of Svenning's daughter, Quint, and his friend Brody ending up in a cartoonish farce with Jay and Silent Bob at the local mall, where the game show is being shot. In the end, Quint wins over his girlfriend, Ben Affleck goes to jail, and we're promised that Jay and Silent Bob will get an orangutan someday. And they will, just not yet. This brings us to Clerks, Kevin Smith's first movie. In this film, Quick Stop employee Dante and his pal Randall attend Julie Dwyer's wake, placing the movie directly after the events of Mallrats. It's like the Indiana Jones movies, but with more pot. Clerks introduced the world to Jay and Silent Bob, scumbag supporting characters who serve as counterpoints to the main character's dour minimum wage existence. They also served as founts of wisdom and a stoner Greek chorus. Jay and Silent Bob spend the majority of Clerks doing what they do best. They hang out in front of the Quick Stop, slinging drugs while Jay makes noise and Bob doesn't. At first glance, the romantic comedy Chasing Amy doesn't feel like a Jay and Silent Bob story at all, with no snoochies nor boochies to be found. This is a movie about love. Smith mainstays Ben Affleck and Jason Lee play creative partners on a comic book series titled Blunt Man and Chronic, which details the lives and adventures of two vigilante stoners. One lithe, loud, and obnoxious, the other portly and less verbal. They are, of course, based on Jay and Silent Bob, who Ben Affleck's character, Holden, goes to meet at a diner to pay them their royalties for their likeness rights. There, Silent Bob delivers his biggest speech to date, giving the movie its title.
You're chasing Amy.
He also reveals an unprecedented number of details about his own personal life, including a lifelong desire to be a dancer. But there's more backstory to this scene than the movies even fill you in on. Before they go to meet Holden, Jay and Silent Bob crash in the living room of Mallrats' character Trish Jones, sister to Chasing Amy's Alyssa Jones, in a story that connects the stoner's arc from Mallrats to the movies that follow. A 4-issue comic book miniseries, Chasing Dogma, bridges the gap between Chasing Amy and Dogma, finally answering the question, Hey, what do you think Jay and Bob were doing around 1998?
Smoking weed, doing coke, drinking beers, rolling fatties, smoking blunts. Who smokes the blunts? We smoke the blunts.
Here's the basic synopsis. After Jay gets the two of them thrown out of Trish's house, the duo heads to the mall's department store to watch John Hughes movies on VHS. They get in a fight, then get kicked out of the RST Video parking lot. They then head to Shermer, Illinois to try to sell weed to the Brat Pack characters, then get verbally assaulted by Mr. Rogers, eventually landing work on the set of an adult film directed by Neil Patrick Harris called Doogie Nights. And that's all in the first 2 issues. In a weird twist, issue 3 explores their adoption of an escaped orangutan and subsequent scrapes with a federal wildlife marshal, which will sound familiar to some. Yes, that particular storyline from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back apparently happened twice. At the end of the run, Jay and Silent Bob discover that there is no Shermer, Illinois, and decide to bury their disappointment by heading to a family planning clinic to meet women. They're nothing if not consistent. Theologically speaking, everything sort of comes to a head for New Jersey's favorite unlicensed herbal peddlers in 1999, when, while cruising at the clinic, they meet Bethany Sloan, the last descendant of a genetic line shared by Jesus Christ. This is the movie in which Jay and Bob are revealed to be prophets sent by God, which still isn't ironic, though it is amusing. Jay and Bob escort Bethany on an interstate journey of self-discovery and heavy religious introspection. Along the way, they befriend Rufus, the secret 13th apostle, and Serendipity, a muse responsible for some of history's most financially successful box office performances. Silent Bob proves to be a remarkably effective demon slayer, defeating 2 actual demons over the course of the adventure. Jay has less success, and his attempts to kill a fallen angel with an Uzi mostly makes things worse. Still, through offhand remarks, he takes a potential end-of-the-world scenario off the burner and helps to save God from a comatose state incurred during one of the Almighty's trips down to Earth to play skee-ball. Bethany immaculately conceives a holy child, and according to Kevin Smith, that's all we'll be hearing on the matter. After 4 movies and various side projects in the supporting cast, 2001's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back put the pair center stage. The movie sees the duo learning 2 important things. 1. Hollywood is adapting Blunt Man and Chronic into a big-budget blockbuster, and they deserve a cut of the royalties. 2. The internet exists, and people are mean there.
We gotta put a stop to these hateful sons of before they ruin our good names.
The 2 head off to Hollywood to try to shut down the movie, or at least get paid their share for their likenesses. Along the way, they befriend a quartet of female jewel thieves masquerading as animal rights activists, and are conned into stealing an orangutan from an animal testing facility as part of an elaborate cover-up. Bob and the ape become dear friends. Jay falls in love with one of the criminals, and Will Ferrell appears as a Will Ferrell character. The jewel thieves are arrested after Justice, the member of the group who garnered Jay's affections, turns them in to save Jay and Bob from going down for a crime they didn't commit. She asks Jay to wait for her while she's incarcerated. Jay and Bob confront Banky Edwards, the co-creator of Blunt Man and Chronic, played by Jason Lee, and walk away with a cherry cut of the proceeds from the forthcoming feature film, leaving them financially solvent for the foreseeable future. Shockingly, in the years between Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Clerks II, the beloved Quick Stop burned to the ground. Our boys aren't to blame, though. They were in rehab at the time. As chronicled by Jay during his first day back at work, they bought a car but were pulled over for suspicion of mischief, also known as...
We were driving around with deployed airbag.
The police found marijuana in their vehicle, and the dynamic duo were sentenced to 6 months of rehab. Back on the outside, they continued dealing drugs but stopped using. They also seemingly picked their business venue based solely on where Dante and Randall were working at the time, setting up shop in front of a Mooby's fast food restaurant. They keep to themselves in the background for the most part. Silent Bob achieves his dance dreams in a sequence of heightened reality, and the 2 are arrested again during a madcap comedy of errors surrounding a donkey show put on inside the restaurant. After everyone gets taken to jail, the 2 offer to finance Dante and Randall's reclamation of the rebuilt Quick Stop in exchange for a permanent residency in front of the store. As the credits roll, a line of text reads, "Jay and Silent Bob might return someday. Until then, they're taking it easy." Fans speculated as to whether or not they'd ever see their heroes again. 13 years passed, and then After a decade-long career detour with studio comedies Zack and Miri Make a Porno and Cop Out, as well as a dark horror phase centered on the Great White North of Canada, Kevin Smith decided he was ready to go back into the View Askewniverse. The return is officially kicking off in October 2019. Remember the plot of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Kevin Smith has described the sequel as being basically the same movie, even comparing it to director Gus Van Sant's shot-for-shot Psycho remake.
Where are we taking it from, Gus? Gus?
I'm busy.
You're a true artist, Gus.
The movie will follow Jay and Silent Bob as they try to stop a big-budget Hollywood remake of the movie they tried to put a stop to in Strike Back. A ton of Smith regulars make appearances, including Ben Affleck, Jason Lee, and Shannon Elizabeth, reprising a role as Justice, who introduces Jay to their love child Millie, played by Kevin Smith's kid, Harley Quinn Smith. She's less adorable this time around, though. This time, she means business.
Either you take us to Hollywood, or I stab you both to death on my own front lawn!
Well, like father, like kid. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.